You're listening to The Grip, where we take hold of mindset and martial arts. Now, let's get started. Today's guest is an absolute force in the world of martial arts, a true modern-day warrior with a deep respect for ancient traditions and a passion for developing the next generation of fighters. He holds a Tuhon 10th Hagdan in Pakiti Tershakali, an ancient and combat-focused Filipino martial arts system that emphasizes blade work, impact weapons, and empty hand techniques. He's also a level 7 Guro full qualified instructor in Balintawak, renowned for its lightning-fast stick fighting. He's a black belt and senior instructor in modern Arnis NSI and a Kruyai in Muay Thai, a title reserved for senior instructors in the art of 8 limbs. On top of that, he's earned a 4-stripe brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, showing his dedication to mastering every range of combat. His accomplishments are as impressive as his skill set. A multiple-time Filipino martial arts Hall of Famer, a coach to athletes who competed at both One Championship and the UFC, and currently the WBC State Director for Washington State. Beyond all of that, he's a proud owner of Warrior Strength Martial Arts, where he continues to share his knowledge, experience, and passion with students every day. He's a living testament to the art, discipline, and spirit of martial arts. Please welcome to the show, Belton Lubas.
How you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on, Belton.
Yeah,
I'm
no
excited
problem.
to chat with you. Well, we're going to get right down to it. Okay, this is going to be a lot about you, and I'm excited to just hear about your stories, wisdom, and where you're moving forward with the gym and as you pursue coaching and just continuing all your travels. So I really want to take it back and talk about just your beginning, what life was like for young Belton.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so young Belton was actually bullied a lot. Your mom's a teacher and a principal, and she wanted me to do the typical Filipino thing, put me in dance classes, piano lessons. I mean, I did tap dancing, jazz, modern jazz, hip hop, even ballet. Yes, I wore tights at one point. Traditional dances, played piano, the pianica, the saxophone, the drums, played a couple other instruments here and there for fun. And you're also a straight A student and you had thick glasses. These are reading glasses, so I got PRK done because of combat sports. It's different from LASIX. But when you do all that, and kids can be mean, yeah, growing up was kind of rough. I had a standard to uphold as far as making my typical Asian parents, making parents proud to represent the family name. And growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a rough time. Ask anybody who's been around that time in that era. There's a lot of fights, a lot of activity as far as gangs. And, growing up was interesting because I wanted to be a good student, be a good son, all that stuff, and then go to school. And my first fight was in 2nd grade. I know grown men that I trained that never fought in their life. Or, I had a fight when I was like 10 years old, and that's my only fight in my life. And I don't remember not fighting. I got jumped by 10 guys, 10 boys in 2nd grade. And I was like, what the hell's going on right now? All because I was dancing with a girl who was my dance partner for this traditional dance thing we were doing. And apparently they were all her boyfriend. So I'm just like, what the hell's going on? I got surrounded in the playground, got jumped, and I was like, fought back a little bit, but I cried the whole time. I was just like, it was all new to me. Didn't have an older brother. I have a younger brother, and I was the older of the cousins. So really didn't have a lot of that. A lot of young kids or young boys that maybe had an older brother or older cousins and stuff. So I think I got bullied all the way up to 5th grade. And so that taught me a lot. And I joke around. I'm like, bring bullying back. I joke around with only close friends, but I'm saying this in a podcast. And not that I admonish or, promote bullying, but I promote thick skin, and I think one thing it's taught me is you just knew just not to snitch. I mean, when I got bullied, I would come home with permanent marker, or they would draw on my face, and I would just say, they're just being funny, mom, whatever. They would take like my books, rip up the pages, throw stuff on top of the roof. And so I would bring some toys to school. I remember, geez, I mean, there was one in fifth grade where I was fighting somebody in class, and he punched the teacher, almost knocked her out. So you grow up that way. That's kind of like the lifestyle, you know. In the '90s, I don't think there's anybody that I know that among my friends, even if they were band geeks or good students or National Honor Society, that did not fight to some degree. And now you look at kids here and they have no fighting policy, and people just not learning how to deal with stuff. They just, they're conceding to this pressure, force, and force. And it's like, no, man, stand up for yourself. I think sixth grade was a turning point, so I'm like fast forwarding a little bit more, give me a shortened version, but geez, I can talk many stories. And I think,
Where did you grow up, Belton?
Oh, yeah, good point. I grew up in Guam. Guam is a small 30-mile long island, 8.5 miles wide. Diversity included the local indigenous people of Guam would be the Chamorros. There's a large population of Filipinos, and I'm actually 100% Filipino, just born and raised in Guam. So when people ask where I'm from, like you just said, where are you from? I say Guam. I don't say Philippines because I didn't grow up there. But if they say, what's your ethnicity? What are you? I'm Visayan. My parents are from Iloilo in Philippines. And in the southern region of the Philippines, those were known as the warriors, a lot of like knife fighters and some warriors and whatnot. So my grandfather moved to Guam, I believe, in the 40s. And then my parents were really young adults, and they moved to Guam. And back then, you did go through like a sponsorship. You get your legalization in American territory. So when you're in American territory, you have American citizenship, or you apply for it. So we actually got citizenship legally, and it took from my understanding, it was a long process. So it was a long process, and my dad sponsored my mom over. They were young, they got married, and I was born and raised in Guam. So I'm an island boy at heart. People say, are you Islander? Yes, I am. I associate with the culture in Guam, but I also associate with my Filipino culture because at home, everything about it was Filipino. The foods, they talk in the language. My mom never taught me the Filipino language, though she spoke to us in English, but I would hear them talk. And so I understood, for the most part, to a degree, the language. So yeah, so that's where I trace my roots from. Guam, no different from even out here in the United States, the continental United States was affected with this whole early 90s kind of if you talk to a lot of people, that the '90s was just a little different time. You probably heard stories, a lot of fights. I don't know what it was. It was just like it was
Grittier.
all. Yeah, it was a good year. Yeah, so with that, going now back to middle school, I kind of just stood up for myself. I hit the person back, and the bully started, reacting a certain way. Even some of the bullies that I'd fight back would kind of cry, So I'm like, oh, what's going on, And I tell the story all the time because I want people to understand that bullies are also bullied themselves. There was a kid, and I was kind of like, I'm going to get back at all these bullies. And I literally was going to go up and kick him in the head. And he was just sitting down crying. And I was like, hey, man, you okay? And he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. And he had his head down. And I saw on his body, he had welts. So I was like, what happened? And apparently his dad beat him up with a power cord, like whipped him with a power cord. Like we're talking extension cord, right? And so even at sixth grade, I knew that a lot of times these bullies are bullying because that's all they know. They've been bullied themselves. And so I kind of shifted my focus more just being a fun, nice guy. And, I was class clown for all my high school years. I was the funny guy. I was the outgoing. And later down the road, all that footwork and dancing has helped me both even in like meeting girls. I mean, I was always the guy at the club that people wouldn't mind dancing with and stuff. And it's opened up doors. The musicality, music theories helped in fighting, picking up martial arts. My martial arts career progressed rapidly because of dancing. And I really thank my mom for that. In hindsight, you don't see that way. You just like, why do I have to do this stupid thing? Why can't I play sports? Why can't I do this? Can do that? Apparently, I had bloody noses. I could literally walk out of a room from an air conditioning room, walk outside, and the change in temperature, I would just start bleeding. I could pick my nose on purpose in class, get out of class, and make my nose bleed. So she was like,
What
"No,
a strategy!"
I did it all the time." And so she was like, "You can't do sports. Your nose will bleed all the time." Blah blah blah. So I'm like, "Okay, whatever." My friends were playing football, Pee Wee football league. They're involved. So I was like, "Well, I want to play sports, mom." Da, da, da. It's so funny. I say all that, and guess what sport I played? Volleyball. Not exactly the basketball, baseball, football type thing, but excelled in that to where my high school won 3 island championships. A lot of my classmates went on to play for different colleges, and played in the national team for Guam. I played at Oregon State. I was helping out with the San Jose City College women's team at that time too when I moved to Cali when I was 18. And that's where I did my martial arts. Actually, my martial arts fully started when I was 18 years old, and that was in 1994. So I've been
Okay.
training since 1994 and got my blue belt in 1995. I still,
Okay.
and so those who know it's rare to even have a blue belt in the 90s, early 90s at that. So yeah, and I didn't know what this thing was when I was training, 18 years old. I'm like, what is this thing called no holds bar? Those of you know who UFC, it was the UFC just started, and the word MMA was never a term. It was never coined MMA. It was called no holds bar. My classmate at 18 years old was a 6'8", 320-pound fighter at the UFC. I think UFC 6. Paul Varlands, the polar bear. Back then, we used to spar with no gloves, no shin guards. No, it was, look at any old UFC and you'll understand why. The groin shots, as long as you had
No
fish
rules.
hook, yeah, and no round time limit. We used to go 20-minute rounds. So what are rounds? What, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Maybe pro level 5 minutes. Jiu-jitsu matches 10 minutes if you're a black belt and 5 minutes. So you're looking at this wild west of martial arts and combat sports. I'm glad there's rules today. I'm glad there's weight classes, but back then, I mean, you were a banger if you did MMA. Our
So
training was
Belton,
rough.
so you got your citizenship. You moved to California when you were 18.
I was
That was
born a
from
citizen, so I let me be clear. So if you're born in Guam, you're automatically a citizen, like Puerto Rico. It's a United States territory. Like if you're born in California, you're born in Guam, same thing. The only difference is if I lived in Guam, I couldn't vote. You could vote for a congressperson, but you couldn't vote for the president.
Okay.
Guam being a territory. So my grandfather got citizenship, and because of that,
Gotcha.
it's yeah. So like you say, like a second generation,
Yeah.
like some people, their grandparents moved to Seattle, but they're of Japanese descent or something, and then their parents, and then suddenly they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm from the U.S. And so that's
Yeah.
a cultural identity wise. If you say where you're from, and somebody says, I'm from Hawaii," then you look at them like, yeah, but you're black or you're Mexican or you're Japanese. Yeah, but I'm from Hawaii. So, but what's your ethnicity? And oh, I'm actually. So you get that a lot in maybe the islands. A lot of these places where there's a big cultural diversity, big difference. Sometimes people would just say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Guam." If you're not from Guam, they say, "So where are you from?" It's different. Like, "Oh, I'm from this part of the Philippines," because you can tell which Asians are which Asians in Guam. It surprises me that some people here can't even tell the difference between certain Asians. And Guam, it just mind you, is a very pro-U.S., pro-military because they liberated Guam back in World War II when the Japanese came, and so our main street is actually called Marine Corps Drive. We had the most veterans per capita in the United States. So most veterans per population group in the United States is actually in Guam. So it's a very military friendly island, and a lot of the ways that people get out of the island is join the military because it was a way
Okay.
out. So all my friends, I was the only non-military guy. Even though I did sign up for the army, I pulled out because I thought I was getting a scholarship thing. This is a long story, but I do work with the military now, and that's my way of paying it forward and paying it back is helping them with the combat stuff. Anyway,
Okay. So you
California.
went to Guam, then to California,
Yep.
and then from California to Oregon.
So 2 years in California, did all the combat sports stuff, from Philippine martial arts to judo to Muay Thai. Basically, my teacher actually put the first Northern California MMA fighter on the map, and
Can
we
I
would get.
ask, Belton, what first drew you into martial arts?
So growing up fighting is natural. I mean, a lot of the people from Guam, we took Hapkido, Taekwondo, Karate, and it was a thing. It was kind of, you walk down the street, somebody says, "Hey, is Kaylee your cousin?" You're like, "Yeah," and just turn around like, "Oh, what did Kaylee do this time?" And so you fight. "Hey, where are you from? What village?" "Oh, I'm from Kirkland. I'm from Bellevue." You fight. It's just a thing, right? So fighting was a it came naturally, meaning like I just saw lots of it. Grew up also watching martial arts films and really loved action movies. My daughter loves action movies now too, so it's a thing that we watch sometimes in movies together. But growing up fighting, it was easy to transition to martial arts because when I got to California, I didn't connect to a lot of people in California. It was weird. I don't know, and no knock against the Bay Area, but I just felt weird. It's like nobody knew what I was. They're like, "What are you, Korean? Are you Japanese? Where are you from?" And I didn't understand the California lifestyle. So my sister, she's like, hey, there's this guy at church. So I started going to church with her, Foxworthy Baptist Church. And he goes, he does martial arts. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to learn martial arts from a guy at church. I was like, lame. So I showed up. I'm like, what is this thing? I mean, we're punching, we're kicking, then suddenly we're taking them down and this ground and pound thing, I don't think we even called it ground and pound. And submissions and jujitsu, like what? So once I did that, I just went, oh my gosh, I love this stuff. This is great because it felt like home. You see that sometimes too in veterans. People who serve when they have a lot of PTSD, and so combat sports sometimes they relate to that, and so it's kind of their form of therapy. And so for me, it was like something to do instead of hang out, go to the beach or just be this cool California dude. So I didn't really connect with a lot of people, and so when I started doing martial arts, I also noticed I had a knack for it, from the experience of like fighting and also footwork, the arts that my mom put me through, and that's kind of has been my whatever you want to call it, my superpower, I guess you could say. I pick up moves rather quickly. I watch, and because it's all it is choreography if you think about it. It's timing, footwork, space management, distance range management. So if you're doing ballroom dancing, you're managing space and you're moving with them. So yeah, I just fell in love with it. And from California, 2 years later, I followed the girl up to Oregon State. I just wanted to just get out. I honestly didn't really care much to stay in California. Wasn't connecting with people. I felt like I didn't understand the valley kind of mentality. And when I went up to Oregon, I felt like it felt more, how do I say this? Because, up in the Pacific Northwest, a little bit more down to earthish. But I think you see there's a big difference with the Pacific Northwest type people and a person from LA. I just felt like maybe I didn't have the right look in California. I didn't have the right lingo, the swag, or the money. So it just, something didn't connect with.
When you were in California, were you in Southern California, LA area?
I was in San Jose.
Okay.
Bay Area, yeah. So when I went up to Oregon, did a year to get my resident and tuition. I trained out of. I went and visited for a very short time, a gym in Albany, and Randy Couture was training out of there. And like, oh, who's that guy? Oh, Randy Couture he's going to be his debut in the UFC, and it's coming up. And I was like, oh, UFC. I kind of just said, I have a buddy that went to the UFC and didn't realize who truly Randy Couture was. So that was kind of cool. And looking back at that, and then I got caught up in college life. I still tried to keep up with training. There was a heavy bag at the gym, but I played volleyball instead. And volleyball is a very explosive but graceful sport in my opinion. And then from there, then I continued back my martial arts after graduating college. And there was a small gap where I couldn't get much training in, and then I picked it back up heavily when I moved to Washington. So I moved here in 2005, and that's 20 years ago. And I haven't stopped. I don't remember not training. I'm either always in the mats, I'm either holding mitts or hitting something or grappling. So that's 20 solid years, solid. And then you go back all the way to 1994, 95. I actually originally started in 94 and experience in fighting since I was second grade. So that's a lot of history and a lot of exposure to all the different arts. And I knew I had to have a striking art, a grappling art, because stuff ends up in the ground. And my passion is Filipino martial arts and the weapon art, I guess you can say. And that came later. After California, I couldn't find a connection with a Filipino martial artist. But here in Washington, I was kind of seeing a guy do some sticks, and I'm like, oh, hey, what's that? It looks familiar. I think I did something. He goes, oh, you're Filipino. It's your art. And I went, oh. Got a hold of my dad. My dad's like, yeah, the knife, da 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 da. I'm like, Dad, why didn't you tell me about the knife stuff? He's like, oh, I wanted you to focus on school. But, back then, the Filipinos.
What did you go to school for?
Physical therapy. So my undergraduate degree was in PT.
So there's some like correlation there. I just was like, did we go for finance and then realize this is not what I'm going to do? But I can see how physical therapy kind of drove you or could be beneficial.
Yeah, dealing with human movement and the human body has always been, I guess, more a staple in what I do. I mean, you're looking at watching people walk in, fixing their form, showing an exercise. So I've been coaching literally since 1990. I would say even at the gym I was in California since 95, 96. So what is that? 30 years? 30 years of coaching practically, right? So you're looking at 30 years.
So when you got out of When you got out of college, did you right away know that you didn't want to go the therapy route? And like, how did you make that decision of I'm gonna really fully commit to martial arts and trying to pursue a career
I
in
was
that
turned
avenue?
off. I was turned off by physical therapy at the time. I did my inpatient, outpatient hours. I was ready to apply to a doctorate, MPT, a Masters of Physical Therapy program back then. Now it's a DPT. And as I was doing my hours, I did my 4 years undergrad, and I was going to go into my postgrad, and I noticed if someone came in and we assessed them and did some care, the stuff that we wanted to do for the patient, we couldn't do. So insurance dictated that. So I was like, if your hands are tied, but if I knew what was good for the person and you told me I can't do that, but I'll approve you of doing this instead, then I'm like, what's the point? It defeats everything in the core of your being of what you want to do to help the person just gets shattered. It just made me sick. I mean, just like, well, why am I doing this then? If I know what's good, I put all this time and money in education, and person comes in, oh, my knee or this or that, I need some PT work. And insurance goes, no, you will approve of 10 sessions of this instead. And you're like, she doesn't need that. And I say she because it's literally this one patient of mine that I'm just like, right at that moment when I questioned the head PT guy, I'm like, why are we doing this? I mean, and I did it respectfully because you know, he's the manager of that clinic, and I'm like, so wouldn't you think, sir? I'm just kind of curious, and his demeanor about it too. It's almost like he gave up. It's like he knew he sold out. And I felt so
Well,
bad for him. And he's just like, well, insurance says we can only do this. So set up the paraffin bath and the ultrasound. I was like, all right.
that it makes complete sense, Belton. And that was a decade or two ago that you were experiencing this. And unfortunately, I think of the medical field today and, yes, have we made a lot of advancements, but as a lot of our decision making and treatment protocols still heavily guided by insurance
Yep.
restrictions. So yeah, completely makes sense why you didn't want to commit to a career path. Cause I would say that is probably the most frustrating part of being a therapist. And so, yeah, makes sense.
Training at Oregon State, I was getting better results. And I was the lead trainer at Oregon State for physical fitness and personal training. And so I'm taking 90-year-old professors, and we're doing amazing things, getting them strong to exercise, walking. And I was taking all these clients to things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting better results. Why don't I become a trainer instead? So I did my master's in healthcare administration, but guess what? I ran into even worse, even more policies and insurance. And so I'm like, why am I even doing this? So yeah, that's why I ended up being a
Makes
personal
sense.
trainer.
Okay, so then you get to Washington, and this is when you
Yep.
start to realize more about Filipino martial arts. Can you explain a little bit? Because I know you're one of the very few that hold the rank of Tuhon 10th Hagdan. Pronounce it because you do better than I do.
Pakiti Tershakali. Yep.
Pakiti Tershakali, which is blades, weapons, hand techniques. Can you explain that a little bit in a deeper level and just what
Yeah,
that
for
title
sure.
means to you and how it's represented culturally too?
Yep. So the three systems that I'm mainly involved in, the Grandmaster that's out here in Washington, who is also a Weapons Master of the Year award, Dr. Kelly Warden, who trains Special Forces in the 1st Group, 4th Battalion at JBLM here in Tacoma. He is a knife guy and a Filipino stick guy, but the roots there trace up to modern Arnis, which is Professor Remy Precis was his mentor. Dr. Kelly, I found while I was here in Washington. The other two, Paquita Tershakali and Balintawak, were also alongside. I kind of found them. When I find something I like, it has to resonate with me. I'm not just going to invest in, a martial art. And with all due respect to the other arts, it just, if it doesn't resonate with me, it just doesn't resonate with me. Is Taekwondo great? I'm sure it is. It's just not for me. It's Hapkido, but you can learn a lot from them. And I've taken those martial arts to just extract what I need out of it. But Filipino martial arts is my weapon-based art, other than the Muay Thai and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Filipino martial arts is, the Philippines has been under a lot of, it's been through a lot of wars, right? And it's a bladed system, but they used to use sticks, and they train with sticks. So you're not going to train with live blades. So all these patterns, and the stick represents it represents the blade. Sometimes the stick is just a stick, and it's an impact weapon. So you hit them with a stick, right? Versus like I'm showing cutting lines. So over time, And what I think Filipinos do best, and if you know this about Filipinos, is they take something and then they make it their own and then they just excel at it. For example, like the Jabberwockies. Oh my gosh, Filipino hip hop breakdancing, a lot of Filipinos. The lead singer for Journey, Filipino. So Filipino karaoke, I mean, you can't go to a Filipino party and not see somebody singing or dancing, right? So they're very artsy, very expressive people. And I think over the years, they also call us the black people of Asia because we're like rhythm, timing. Filipino martial arts, I think has its heavily influences and some of its roots in Malay and Indonesian roots. And when it came to Philippines, and some of these families have taken the Filipino martial arts and used it for protection, combat, self-defense for their village, their people. And you're looking at sometimes even just the basic machete, so gardening tools, some of the blades that they have, and they used it and made it efficient, and they found ways to express it into combat. And a lot of military groups, executive protection, a lot of high-level operating or special groups have used Philippine martial arts. You see it all the time in films. If you just watch the recent Mission Impossible, well, not the recent one, but a couple of Mission Impossibles ago, there's a scene where Tom Cruise is actually doing stick work with one of his agents, the agents that died. You can see it in Dune. If you watch the movie Dune, there's doing stick stuff. John Wick, Star Wars. Some of the lightsaber stuff, they've actually consulted Filipino martial artists. So sometimes you don't know what you're looking at. If you do know what you're looking at, you're like, oh my gosh, that's Filipino martial arts. But how are you supposed to advertise it? Come learn how to kill and slash throats. Come to my school. Now teaching slashing throats and stabbing people. I mean, can you imagine the marketing behind that? Come learn how to kill.
It's got a ring to it, I guess.
Yeah, right. Offered in Bellevue, Washington, in a very liberal state. Come learn how to kill people. It's like what kind of a gym is that? So we say Filipino martial arts, but those who know, it's empty hand, meaning the hand is the blade. So if I'm cutting you this way, if I'm doing like a cut, it's the same move. It's just a hit. Maybe it's a forearm, maybe it's a hack. It's a chop, but it's the same movement. I hit you with an elbow as I'm parrying your shot. It's the same as I'm slashing. You're looking at that. You're looking at weapon-based arts, either long staff or double stick, single stick, knife, impact weapons. It could be a weapon in your hand that you can use as an impact tool, joint locks, joint breaks, where again, influences from the different arts. And a lot of families, this is my family system. This is the Cayley family system. Oh, this is the Belton family system. And so sometimes we'd have our little rivalries, but a lot of times it's to protect your property, protect those you love. And it's made its way into war, into a lot of groups are using that to teach their military special operation groups, because you don't have to reload a knife. But how do you train somebody if your things fail? How do you go to hand? So they've been seeking a lot of that with the Filipino martial arts.
That makes sense. How do you advance through this level of martial arts?
There's the old school way. And a lot of times you just end up being that guy, that rank. And I've got some stories about that. Now, the West has taken martial arts and commercialized it to where they put a system in place that makes sense for Americans, if that makes sense. Like I'm a blue belt now, I'm a purple belt, and then stripe, showing advancement because you're chasing that goal. But you go to some of the old countries, you just train. And then one day you're just that.
Does your master, whoever is ahead of you, designate that to you, or is there like a process for them to like inform you of what degree that you advance to, or how did that work for you?
So there's some BJJ schools that every 3 months you get a stripe.
Sure.
Right?
Like an attendance sort of thing, and just or time frame.
Put your time in.
Yeah.
And there's some schools that go, boom, you're a blue belt. Wait, what? I mean, could have warned me. No, not really. So I'll tell you a story. I was on a phone call with Dr. Kelly Warden, and he said, hey, we're training some 8th degrees Kyokushin guys or Ishinru karate guys. Like we're talking Okinawan, right? I'm like, okay, cool. And we're just chatting, and he goes, bring your belt and your gi. So I was like, okay. So I was like, why the fuck does he want me to bring my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gi and my belt, my purple belt at that time? And mind you, I've been a purple belt for like 7, 8, I don't even remember. It's like 8, 10 years. I've been in a belt longer than some people have their whole journey to black belt. It's not about that. It's about the journey.
Exactly.
When you're teaching at a school the whole time, you don't have somebody above you who's giving you rank. It happens anyway, because there's rank chasers. remember, we live in America. I mean, it's about progressing and, blah, blah, blah. So I was on the phone with him. I'm like, why does he want me to do that? And it's in my mind. So we're about to end the conversation. I said, okay, Datu, just to clarify again one more time. You want me to bring my purple belt, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gi for this karate black belt group that's coming to learn? He goes, no, silly, the black belt I gave you. And I was like, what black belt? Didn't I give you? I go, Datu, you just told me to teach. So one day you said teach. I go, I will teach. So he's like, oh, seminar comes. So I got a actually karate black belt because the grandmaster like, oh man, I don't have a black belt on me. So he brought his black belt. And after the seminar, he goes, hey guys, what'd you think of Belton, presenting and helping you? I was like, oh man, great stuff. Dr. put me on the spot. And they were like, oh man, high level practitioner. Because what if I told you he's a zero belt, like nothing, right? And they're all like, how's that possible? So they did the whole ceremony. I always tell people receiving that belt wasn't what made me just go, whoa. I mean, don't get me wrong, I got a black belt. I actually got the black belt later because he actually ordered one from the Philippines. When on the phone, when he said, no, the black belt I gave you years ago, silly, like 10 years ago or something, I'm like, never gave me a black belt. When you're recognized as that level, that rank by people that validate that, I don't care if there has to be formal tests or this. It's like going to Thailand and they start calling you crew. And I've heard stories from a friend of mine, Peter Pinto, Crew Peter, went to Thailand with his head instructor, and he's just helping out with the locals. And they were like, "Hey, crew, question," and he's like, "Crew, they're calling me crew. What do I do? I correct him?" He's just like, "Then you're a crew." And it's so funny because if you have a black belt mentality and the way you carry yourself and your skill backs it up. Your teaching backs it up as far as being a teacher, because there is black belts who are just competitors and they don't have a red bar, they have a white bar. But if you're a red bar, black belt, you have that red bar, you're a professor. So that was that defining moment, that phone call. Going old school, going back to Filipino martial arts, it is kind of old school because that is Dr. Kelly is my NSI grandmaster, and he's well renowned in the world. Same thing happened in Pekita Tertia Kali. So my grandmaster, Grand Tuhon Leo Gahe, ranked my students above me. Imagine you're teaching classes as a purple belt and then you get somebody ranked over you. And basically they forgot you were a purple belt or even a blue belt, and they give the guy a brown belt. And you're like, oh, okay. And the whole time your teacher thought you were a black belt. So basically they said, somebody tipped the Grand Tuhon off and goes, why are you giving guru titles to Belton students? He's not even a guru. And he had this, from what I was told, his reaction was like, what? What do you mean? Isn't he whatever? And it's like, no. And he's like, oh. So I went from 0 to Agalon, which is like purple belt, I guess. Agalon, it's basically 87 levels deep. I went here to Tuhon. So I went from white belt to like purple belt to black, something like that. It's just blah, blah, blah. But imagine 87 levels. So your 4 stripes, every stripe's a level. And so that was another defining moment. I always say there's some people as students that will chase the rank, and it's so important to them. Look, I'm a brown belt 4 stripe, dude. I've seen my students get black belts, and I kind of care, but I don't care. I know my value, my worth as a teacher, and so that is what it is, But if you're chasing rank, it's not going to get you very far because your focus, your intent's not being a student or teacher or a student teacher. So I've never really thought I got to get that rank, because if that's the case, why was I passed up so many times? Because I was already playing the role of what that rank was. So live up to that role, and that will come later. But if you're like, okay, I got to work hard to get to that. Not that that's the wrong path either. But if you're expecting rank, that's different. But if you work hard, regardless of rank, you're going to get ranked anyway. So in Filipino martial arts, there are systems that test. The Balintawak, I went through a test. I went through a formal test, level 1 through level 6. When you're 6, you're like a black belt. Okay, so you're done. You're done with the art. A level 7, which I am, and there's a small handful of us around the world, not just in America, around the world, that got that level 7, which is a full qualified instructor, because I had to produce a 6 of my own. In other words, Kaylee, you could produce a black belt. Then when professor says job on this student, now you both are black belts, now it's your turn. And then you got to come up and show 24 of your new innovative Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques. So I have to show 24 of my own techniques, my expression in the Balintawak format. And he's told me specifically, I want to see your Pekita Tertia. I want to see your NSI. I want to see Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want to see your Muay Thai, show me who you are. And
Mm.
so I went through it was man, it started at 8 or 9 in the morning. We were done like 5 p.m., you know?
Wow.
And then my portion alone, and that was everybody testing, but I had to go through that same test. Basically, like you do the warm up. So you do every level. So you go through and you do the drills, the katas, and all that stuff, the forms. Then I had to show my technique at full speed, and then I had to fight the panel. Basically, the other level 7 guys that are watching and validating you as one of the Brotherhood of Sevens, right, or Sisterhood. And so that is very specifically there's specific curriculum laid out for that. So the other arts
And where
sometimes.
does this take place, Belton? I mean, is this something that you get invited to, or is this a yearly thing? I picture
So
this as like a conference sort of thing, but I don't know if I have that envisioned in my head right.
So let's say I started training you in Balintuak. Let's pick Balintuak, right? So you're training with me. I'm a guru, so I can test you through level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I cannot test you for your 6. That's completion of the art. Only the Grandmaster can test you on that. So we can have our test your warrior strength. 4 months later, I give you your first level 1 test. A year later, I give you, I keep going, right? Up
Gotcha.
to 5. At the 5th one, either Grandmaster comes here because we're doing a seminar, or we go to a world camp. And
Gotcha.
so you know you're ready when you're ready. So your instructor is really in charge of your journey. So I would say, hey, Katie, you need a test. You're like, hey, you're ready. I've been preparing you. Now your test is a direct reflection of me. So if I didn't prepare you, the Grandmaster's like, show me disarm number 12 on the left side at full speed. And then pop, 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 and then all of a sudden you're like, you screw up. Grandmaster's gonna go, do it again. Da, 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 da. Okay, who's your teacher? That's the worst. That's the worst question. Who's your instructor? It's Guru Belton, sir. And he's gonna be like, look at me and go to the back and work on her, bring her back. Other than that, it's a fail. So to answer your question, it's at the World Camp in front of the Grandmaster. But as a guru, I can test my own students up to 5. Dr. Kelly, he always says, come to a annual camp and the brotherhood vets you. And he said this, and it makes sense. One day I'll be dead. I won't be here. But you all got to work with each other. So if they can't stand you as a person, if you don't represent them accordingly and what we stand for, then why would we want to have you be an instructor or apprentice instructor? And that's how we do it as far as the NSI. So you go to a world camp, and I might be like, hey guys, I might whisper to the other high level dudes, senior instructors, this is Kaylee. Keep an eye on her. I'm prepping her. She has good form. I think she'd be great for Filipino martial arts for this system. And they're gonna watch you. They might come up to you, we call it touching hands with you, just to see you move. They'll give me feedback like, yeah, she's good, great personality, that she's knowledgeable and respectful. Okay. And then pretty soon it's like certificate. And you don't even know the end of the camp. You're like, but you and I have been talking about it, In Pikiri, some groups test, some groups it's just determined by the instructor. So a lot of it is the instructor knowing that by him or her providing that rank, they're also still liable to holding that standard, because then we know where you came from. So if you're going to claim you're from Belton, you better live up to that standard, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's Filipino martial arts. Same thing kind of Muay Thai. It's like your crew and your crew, but I formalized the testing program in my gym because I feel that in order to become a coach, you got to be a junior coach. So I'll be like, Kaylee, why don't you help with the kids class? You're a blue belt now. Well, I'm not going to give you an adult class, but just help the kids, warm them up. In the same way, too, a junior Puchoy crew, or we call a Puchoy crew, something that Gavin and I've been talking about, is learning, putting the time in and coaching. Coaching is reps. Everything in life is a skill, and you got to put your reps in. So some of the best fighters in the world are the worst coaches. They suck because they don't work at teaching. But you have a coach that puts the reps in, the time in, and you're like, hey, that's a phenomenal teacher, because they've developed that skill set. It's a skill. People think just because, oh my gosh, he's a good fighter, oh, he moves good, or oh, he's a great NBA player. Well, I don't think you can run an NBA professional team.
Right.
Yeah. And some can do both. Roland's a great professor. He coaches well. He can also roll you up pretty dang good. And some may not be built for fighting, but they have an eye for coaching. Maybe they did 1 or 2 fights. Manny Pacquiao's coach. And Manny Pacquiao is a world-renowned legend boxer. It's not like his coach was Freddie Roach was like some superstar professional boxing coach, but he's fought, and the LA Lakers when they dominated, Coach Pat, right? It's not like he was maybe this phenomenal Kobe Bryant type, Magic Johnson or Jordan, but how many time NBA coach champion of the LA Lakers? So we have to kind of understand, and I think you're in collegiate sports, right, Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at your coach's backgrounds. Sometimes they didn't excel as far as you think they would have. So,
Yeah.
yep. And I'll put this out there in the podcast because I'm sure people are watching this. Why do I train pro fighters? Why have I coached UFC guys, won championship guys, and even coached and cornered in Thailand and Lumpini? Well, you were never a pro Muay Thai fighter because that's the kind of crap that I see online.
Sure.
And call it what it is, man. I mean, I know putting myself out there online puts me on a possibility of getting blasted, even this podcast. But I'm
Yeah.
willing to take the heat because while you guys do this, where's your evidence? I
Yeah.
mean, put your content out. Put something
Yeah.
out there and show me who you are. But too many damn keyboard warriors. That's why I say bring bullying back. Smack some of these fools upside the head who think they know a
No,
thing or
but
two about fighting.
You're so right, though, Belton. There is a clear difference between coaches and competitors. And can coaches be competitive? Yes. And can competitors merge into a coaching role? But they are two very different professions. And so, yeah, I think you bring up a very valid point, and people would agree.
You can't beat reps. So I don't care. I got 30 years of coaching. So if you want to put that to the test, let's coach against each other or something. But I don't have to show you that I'm a 23-2 fighter to be a good coach. People don't understand that.
How do you approach just preserving the traditions of Filipino martial arts, Muay Thai, BJJ? How do you work on preserving those, but also like adapting to modern combat and just like self-defense?
Know your audience, know who you're teaching. If it's a basic jiu-jitsu class, we have a certain way of warming up. We have a certain philosophy. We don't believe in just sitting down and butt scooting. We'll take it to the ground. We'll wrestle you. Strong background in that and holding true to that, because you can't claim to be under Professor Roland or if you don't got so much the essence of that, right? You can't claim to be Balintawak and Tabawada Balintawak specifically if you don't look Tabawada Balintawak-ish. Pikiti has a certain look. Dr. Kelly's stuff is so progressive, but there's some concepts and theories and principles that apply. You teach it like you teach it, and then you develop the person, and then the expression that comes out is when your coach and yourself, because I think a coach needs to help you through that. Julia, for example, Julia Webb, my little badass Muay Thai gal. She came to me at 9 years old as a Taekwondo black belt. I kind of laughed it off. I was like, nobody cares about you being a 9-year-old black belt. And she was like, oh. And then her dad was like, ouch. And I said, learn Muay Thai from Muay Thai. As she got older and she started competing, I go, remember that Taekwondo move? Now put it in there. So your self-expression and who you are comes down later down the road. Once your fundamentals and your foundation is set. But don't come to jiu-jitsu class and start doing spinning, flying, berimbolo, arm bars, Imanari rolls if you can't even do a basic put pressure on a person.
Get the fundamentals down.
Yeah. Don't say do Muay Thai if you can't even get the Muay Thai stance. Don't call yourself a Muay Thai instructor if you don't even know how to teach basic elbows and knees and kicks, right? So the fundamentals and the basics come first. Basketball is a good example. You got your street guys and you got the guys that went through a formal high school right into college. And why are they so fundamentally sound? Why do they look a certain way? Now, the street guy, can they pop into the NBA and make it? Absolutely. The cases out there like one-offs. I don't say very much, but then they do make it. But have you noticed the guys that actually put time in college and stuff and had the fundamentals really solid, they excel further. And then their self-expression comes. And then suddenly they're flashy. Your Michael Jordan flash, people forget he also played in North Carolina, right? So Jordan played in North Carolina. His fundamentals and skill sets were all there. The flashy stuff is what people focus on because we live in a age of social media. And what we see is the 5 million views on that one cool kick that Sanchai did was a cartwheel kick, but they don't realize Sanchai's basics and foundation is solid in Muay Thai. So I tell my students, and this is from one of my grandmasters, foundation first, style later. But we become too stylized because we're Americans. Again, it goes back to this whole chasing rank thing. We want that fast. I got to get there fast. I got to succeed. I got to,
Yeah, you want the flashy.
And what you look at Thailand, why are these guys just putting in 3 hours of Muay Thai a day? Sometimes just working an hour on just their stance and their basic weapons, and they're so clean. So put your reps in, put your time in.
Sure.
Yeah.
What do you wish more people understood about the philosophy behind the arts, specifically with blade work, stick fighting, modern harness, all that?
That everything in your hand is a weapon, and that thing in your hand is just an extension of your hand. So whether it's a 24-inch stick or 18-inch blade or a 4-inch blade, they're all extensions of your hand. So your movements, that range changes. And fighting in general is all just distance management, right? If
Mm,
you want to defend yourself in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, create space. If you want to be in the offensive, close the space. Muay
mm,
Thai, you want to clinch, get in there. You want to stay long range, get out there a bit. If you don't want to miss
sure.
on your kick, manage your range and your footwork. Footwork, footwork, footwork. Filipino martial arts footwork. You can't cover up on a blade coming at you. You have to parry. You have to also have some body agility and flexibility.
I mean, because I'll be the first to admit, Belton, I had
Uh-huh.
no idea the extent of what went into blade work, stick fighting
Uh-huh.
until we got to Seattle and walked into Warrior Strength. And I just see these guys with crazy technique throwing around sticks and doing all this
Uh-huh.
wild movement, very technical. But honestly, it was the very first time that I had seen it. And so I just think about all these people that have no idea. And I like how you gave the examples of just even what you see within the movies, and they have no idea that
Yeah.
could originate from Filipino martial arts and
Gotcha.
just the philosophy behind it. And
So yeah, whatever's in your hand is a weapon. Treat it like such. And your movement and the philosophy is PTK is angles. Bisect the line, cut that angle, cut the line. Dr. Kelly would say, find the art within your art. That within the Philippine martial arts, there's a lot of concepts and principles, and you stick to that, adhere to that. The self-expression comes without getting too much away from the concept or the principle, but there's a little bit more freedom of expression. Walk, defend and counter fast. Defend and counter fast. Get in there and get them on the half beat. Hit them first before they hit you. Footwork,
just
footwork.
to clarify, Belton, Dr. Kelly is the instructor in Warrior Strength, correct?
Datu is a chieftain title.
Datu.
Yeah, it's a Filipino word on they call it the chief. So he's the first white non-Filipino guy to receive that title. And the first American Datu. Datu is a very prestigious title. And he is not at a Warrior Strength. He has his own school in Tacoma.
Okay.
But he is my NSI Grandmaster, the founder of NSI. And all these guys, I mean, they have their own system. I learned directly under Grand Tour and Leo Gahe, Pikita Tershakali, PTK, let's just call it PTK. Dr. Kelly was NSI, and he is the founder and our Grandmaster of that system, which has
Okay.
its origin roots in modern Arnis. Arnis, Eskrima, Kali, they're all it's just different parts of the Philippines come up with different ways to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the southern Philippines they call it Kali. Maybe here they call it this. And Eskrima comes from the word escrimador, fencing, fighting, sword fighting. Arnis, arnisador.
Our niece. I think I was saying Arnis. Okay, our niece.
Well, some people say
Our
arnis.
niece and Doc
Yeah.
too. Okay.
Dot
Very
two,
cool.
yes.
Awesome. Okay. And so you travel extensively, teaching seminars, cornering fights, promoting martial arts just worldwide. Can you explain to our listeners how much you really are on the road and in the plane and really what drives you to keep spreading the arts just across the globe?
I just got back from India, count all the layovers, probably 30 plus hours of travel. And that's India. The owner and founder of Light Haven, Goa, and I met him in Philippines, and he's a blade guy, and he was just like, dude, I want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, so I brought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai to the school years ago. So that's an example of meeting somebody, then you kind of just promote the arts, and he's like, I would like to start this in my school. I want a weapon art, a striking art, and I want a grappling art, and so kind of mimicking what we do. That's India. I have a affiliate in Alaska. I have Texas, Georgia, where the Bulldogs are, Athens, Georgia, Idaho, Spokane, Northern California. I go to Philippines. So either I'm traveling to Thailand to corner a fight or be there for WBC, go to Philippines for workshops and conventions. I'm flying to Virginia to corner a Team USA gold medalist who has a title fight. And then I go literally corner her and I fly out, go to LA to teach a knife and Muay Thai seminar in LA that weekend.
Wow.
It's so if I'm not cornering, I'm coaching or I'm visiting an affiliate school. what I'm noticing in the industry, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you this. I think gyms are starting to realize that they want to bring in coaches and not just famous fighters, because you bring in a famous fighter, they're going to show you what worked for them. Mind you, they put their thousands of reps in, hundreds of thousands of reps in. Mind you, their physical attributes, they might be 6'2" and Speedy Gonzalez type fast guys. Mind you, they might be a head kicker. They might be a puncher. Again, mind you, so I can keep going on as far as why these seminars, people are getting attracted to coaches. They're like, well, we want the coach. Because if the fighter's just going to go, this is my combo. Sir, I can't do your combo. This is what a coach would do. Here's a cool combo I picked up from fighter A, but here's a variation of that this fighter did. And here's an adaptation if you're 5'6". If you can't kick, coach is always modifying, because we have to do that in class. We have to do that for all the fighter profiles types we had, you know? And I think gyms are finding a bigger bang for their buck with that, rather than inviting the fighter. Now, don't get me wrong, they'll always still invite the awesome fighter from Thailand, because it's kind of cool. Why not, right? I mean, get a signature, take a picture, but they're noticing, I want to learn, and I want somebody who can teach me. Micah Brown is famous in Instagram. He's a high-level coach. He's a high-level fighter. His fight IQ is really high. When he came to me, he said, I don't need to associate or be under another high-level striker. I don't need another high-level striker telling me how to strike. I need a mentor and a coach. So that's why he's with me. Some people are like, your coach Micah B's coach? I'm like, yeah, every coach needs a coach. Roland's technically my coach. Roland and I knew each other such a long time. He's a buddy of mine. But accountability and having a mentor is important.
Sure.
When Micah said that our relationship is different in terms of that, because he's such a high level guy. I don't want to spar him. He's dangerous, and he teaches so well. I mean, look at any of his videos. He's trained with UFC fighters. He went over to visit Anderson Silva to train him and his son. He's well known. His huge Instagram following. But why did he seek me out? What makes me so special? Because he just wanted a coach. Doesn't need some awesome famous fighter dude teaching him something. He's like, well, bro, I already do that. I want somebody to look at me from the outside and give me more resources, make me think a certain way, challenge me in a certain way. And you can't do that if you're just a fighter. If you're a coach, that's our job. That's our job, is to find those upper limits and progress you, because you might be some high level athlete, but let me teach you something different.
Yeah. And so you've coached fighters at the highest levels, in one championship, at the UFC, so what's the biggest difference between preparing athletes for some of these world-class competitions versus also training your everyday students?
I'll take Smoke and Joe as an example. We just did a seminar together in New Mexico. We did a Q&A, and somebody goes, what's your training regimen like? Do you run? Do you do this? He looked over him. He goes, ask him. And I started laughing. I go, Joe doesn't run. And I swear to you, all their mouths just dropped. They're like, he doesn't run? He goes, I hate running. So people are like, what? How are you a one championship world famous striker? You don't run. And so I go, I don't make Joe run. I don't even care if he does or doesn't run. Like, what's your coach? What's your coaching style? I go, he just does class. And they're like, wait, what? He does class. I hold pads for him. And then 2-3 weeks before fight, we ramp up. But he's getting what he needs in class, and being in a class, your teammates help drive you. As there's special fight team training, like tonight, I got a couple of fighters in training. As we speak right now, I just finished a class. I had a female who has a title fight, and we fought against her, beat her. She's driving all the way from Olympia. That's a 2-hour drive, 2.5 maybe, from Olympia to come and get coaching here. I have a guy from Florida who's a coach and a fighter. He's out there right now. So why are they coming over here? They're in class and they're like, whoa, they're moving and they're learning, but I don't need to go, hey, let's crack the pads hard. That's the time and place for that. It's time and place for that. So in class, if a good coach is a good coach, the fighter still can get the concept in the class. So why can't they train their brain too? I mean, you really want to? Okay, let's go. Let's push. Let's do some sprints up the stairs or something. But with Smoke and Joe, holding pads, maybe 3 times a week, and he just does class. Then in the morning he comes in and we do like battle ropes, kettlebells, we do some circuits, explosive stuff to get his cardio going. But that's it. And he also doesn't fight too far away from his walking weight. MMA guys, so there's a guy, his MMA debut. In class, I would look over and say, hey, work on this. So if you can make micro adjustments while in class, they can get the biggest bang for their buck, rather than going, hey, coach, do you have a private? Can I do a private, or can we do separate fight team training? Why? The concept's there. Work off of that. So in class, there was a concept where you're switching your lead and you're throwing the opposite hand, and I go, "Hey, there's your takedown." He's like, "Oh, okay." So instead of just doing cross hook and then round kick, he would do an overhand into it, and he just grabbed the leg and lifted up. That person doesn't even have to be an MMA fighter. He's just a body, so he's training the timing. That's why the Thais get it. They got it down right. They're going side by side. They're just working their timing. They're working their defense rather than going hard, hard, hard. If you're always going hard, your body can only handle so much, you know.
Mm.
And if you're always going hard, there's a time and place for hard too. You push it, you push the pace and you go hard, but there's also time for learning. I think we always train ourselves to go the distance and push our bodies to the max limit, but we don't also train this part of our body, the brain. Train the brain, focus on also on recovery. And so many weeks out, there's hard sparring days, there's non-hard sparring days, there's recovery days. That program design is it catered individually, then it's modified accordingly with just tweaking here and there, left and right. Julia,
Sure.
3-time US champion, 1-time Lupini gold champion, and maybe what, 1 or 2 privates a week, maybe. But she just did class. She just did class, and she pushed the pace. You can find ways to
Mhm.
make it hard for yourself. If I'm rolling with you, and you're a blue belt, and I'm supposedly a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner, why am I going to smash you and just feel so dominant because what, I beat up Kaylee? Yeah, look at me, I'm a champion. No, I'm going to work on other things too. I'm going to maybe allow a certain position to happen, and I'm going to see you work, and then I can work my defenses. If you're a high-level
Sure.
striker, you don't have to crack the guy, but you know what? Maybe work your head movement a little bit more, and then just give him light touches and find your timing to do the shot you need to do. And so when you do fight, you have that timing down, and you're training your eyes to see that your timing, you know, the body mechanics and whatnot. So then you can crack that person, or the person maybe who can spar back harder. Why are you going to crack on a 32-year-old mother of two who's doing Muay Thai? But if she's a decent striker, then use that advantage to work your defense. Use that time
Sure.
wisely. So people don't know how to coach themselves. The coach doesn't even know how to coach them through a class. You know, they got to have fighter training 3 times a week.
Right.
And
So instead of having like a clear, this is just community class, this is our fight team class, you're going to encourage kind of a merge between them while dabbling in some of those, whether it be private trainings here and there, you know, circuit training or conditioning here and there, but really
what is
encouraging a
what does Joe Roland do in jiu-jitsu? Hey guys, just get the pass, okay? Higher belts, I expect you to hit an arm bar after that. Okay, guys, get the sweep. Higher belts, go ahead and do that kimura or that triangle transition.
Sure.
So you're
So you're
never
instructing the
yes,
modifications or how you want them
yes.
to advance while they're in this class or whatever.
Yeah, you might have 3 levels.
Expectations for them.
You might have 3 levels going on in a class, but it also takes a very aware coach, a coach with depth of knowledge to be able to do that. And if you're just like, well, today we're just gonna like, you know, do this and that, and it's just an arm bar. It's like some of the high level guys might be like, we've been doing arm bars for like, okay. Not that they should complain. They should always get your reps in. No, nobody's exempt from the basics. Nobody. A jab is still a jab, regardless. You don't think Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao doesn't ever throw a jab? Like, oh, that's too basic for me. It's a resource and a tool. You don't think your high-level jiu-jitsu person is not working on the shrimps and their hip escapes and their sprawls during warm-up? No, they're getting their reps in. High-level coach would be able to modify accordingly and actually add a little bit more too. Person's preparing for a no-gi match. During the live rolls, you say, Kaylee, no gi top, and in your rounds, just do no gi. So you're
Sure.
still working. Use your time wisely, man. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I travel a lot. Do you think I have time to do privates for every fighter in this damn gym at 200 plus students here and a fight team that's probably 10 to 20 deep? I don't got the time. Fighters are an interesting bunch of people, man. They can be the most selfish people in the world and crybabies and prima donnas. So,
Yeah. Well, and so what's a quality that you notice in the athletes who are making it to the top? Some of these professionals.
you just said it, professional. They show up on time. They use their time wisely. They don't allow drama, outside external problems be a factor in their training. Albert Tadevosian has his own company, is a father, has kids, married, has 2 or 3 businesses, I believe. Yet he still finds time. Adrian Cruz, when he was at Bellator, you know, and he's a brown belt here, he also helps at MMA group. He would get his workout in the morning, go 9 to 5, and then still come to the gym afterwards. But you got people who go, oh, you know, I'm going to be a fighter, so I'm just going to work the least amount of hours, struggle, live in my car, and they're just lazy asses, and they wonder why they don't succeed. So they're not even developing the skill set to be a professional. Want to be a pro? Act like a pro, you know? Understand there's contracts, there's interviews, there's social media presence. There's a level of professionalism you got to do to carry yourself. So when you get to that top level, you're prepared for it. But if you're like, oh, I'm just going to do the minimum so I can be at the gym all day, because you sitting here in my gym, it's not going to make you better. It's quality of time and quality of effort, you know?
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
fighters, you want to be a pro, start thinking like a pro. You want to be that person, think like that person, you know? Success leaves
Mhm.
clues. So if success leaves clues, look at successful people, you know? And look at the people that had the success and then they dropped and failed. You know, why did that one NFL player suddenly just broke as hell or blew out their knee and didn't take their training seriously? They depended on their gifted athleticism rather than working on what they need to work on. Why does
The discipline
LeBron
behind it.
yeah, LeBron James, I believe it's LeBron, they did a documentary on Netflix, thousands upon thousands of dollars for recovery. He understands his body and his ability to provide income and the level of lifestyle he wants and provides for his family. He's got to spend just as much in recovery and hire the proper trainer, hire the proper recovery, the masseuse, the different modalities of recovery. And people are like, dude, that's crazy. If you watch the documentary, he'll actually tell you how much he spends, but that's so nuts. I'm like, then you make 30, 40 million, do 100 million, you know, invest in your
Mhm.
education. Stop coming here and telling me you want to work for free at the gym because you're the next great UFC superstar. I say, I can clean the gym, bro. Shut up and pay membership. When you pay your dues, the art of this act of actually paying and the reciprocity between skill and learning and exchange, that exchange, that's a real thing. But if you just give me, I'm special. You ain't that special, man. You're just a dime a dozen out there. And I get
Mhm.
so passionate about this because
Mhm.
when you come from where that's why these people from other countries, they're starving and hungry for that success. They will do anything and everything to get there and still work hard. They'll pick up trash outside of their street. It's like America needs an awakening sometimes because
Mhm.
we've become such a lazy ass society, and you wonder why the Dagestani dude or the Kyrgyzstani dude is just coming here whooping ass, because to them, running up a mountain, carrying a couple of goats on their back. There was a kid here who was 11 years old, I believe, or 10, and he was sparring full grown adults, takedowns and everything. And I'm just like, dude, this kid different. I think he was from Kazakhstan. It's just different. I'm like, damn. You know, he gets hit. He just kind of just so focused. And then you go to his Instagram and he's slitting the goat's throat and he's collecting the blood and skinning the animal. And I'm like, what the but look at them. Hardship is nothing. So
Yeah.
fighters, they go through turmoil, trauma, and hardship. That's what makes them gritty. But it's the same turmoil, trauma, and hardship that also makes them shitty human beings. You know,
Mm.
that's why they have instability in their life, like 7 baby mamas, and they can't hold a job. So I'm like, dude, stabilize one part of your life and the other part will catch up. But if you have a lack of stability, whether that's here, family, relationships, whatever, but you can only handle so much energy. You know, the allocation of energy is never created nor is it destroyed. It's just transferred. It's a physics law. So if I take and suck from this side of energy, I'm gonna suffer in this area. So I think if you want to be a pro fighter, look at some of the respectful pros out there. Understand they didn't just go to ground and pound school. You're looking at BJ Penn, a black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're looking at GSP, who was a high level karate guy. You look at, there's your rare anomalies like your John Jones, who just kick ass, and then Randy Couture was a wrestler, right? But didn't BJ Penn also work his boxing and his hands got better? So they're constantly working at the areas they need to work and improve. They're not going, I'm just
Sure.
gifted. No one gives a shit, man. Everyone else is gifted out there. There's always somebody better than you, and you always have to remember that.
Yeah. You just hit so many different levels of values and principles. Is there any main ones that you feel like you really try and instill in your fighters beyond obviously just technique and training? I heard stability, and I know often you
Mindset.
reference mindset. And often I know you
Um,
reference finding the art within the art or
yep.
within your art.
Puchoy crew, PC Madi, Muay Thai guy is actually Thai. He comes in the evening, but anyway, he teaches the 6 p.m. Fundamental adult class for Muay Thai. He had a fight, and he was just so kind of caught up in the moment, and people were like, "Hey, man, you got this, bro." You know, one thing fighters hate is when you keep bugging them before a fight. You're like, "Dude, you ready? You good?"
Mm,
It's like, "No, I have not been ready for the last 2 months." What do you think I've been doing, you idiot? So don't ever ask a fighter if they're ready. That's irritating. Don't do that, please.
mm.
So anyway, his mind was just whatever, I could tell. So I pulled him aside. I go, Eddie, come here. Let's talk for a little bit. Jayen. It means cool heart. Just go in there and do the task. And it's like, just go in there. Do what you need to do. Just do you, man. And just ignore
Jayen.
everything out. Jayen. Jai.
Jai.
Jayen. Yes.
Jayen.
It means cool heart. Don't get emotional. Don't go here. Don't be down here. Just like ice cold, right? It means cool heart because you don't want to have a fiery heart. Like you don't want to come out there like and suddenly you have your adrenaline overload, right? You don't have adrenaline dump. You don't want to be also just kind of like, what's up, dude? Because you need to be on point. So just cool heart. So when he fought, I was 10 months of training, 0 fights. The judge, after the fight, before they called him as a winner, goes, "Is this correct? 0-0?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "There's no way." I went, "Yeah, man. Remember fundamentals? Foundation before style? That's 1. 2, mindset." He was kind of nervous, and I told him, just go in there, treat it like you're just there to do a job, you know? Because I need to figure out where we're going to eat afterwards. I just took his mind off the fight. I go, "Don't even think. You prepared for this." The people that watched him said he had to at least had 10 fights and that he was a pro. That was the comments I heard. So basically, they called me a liar. They said that there's no way oh no, you're lying. And I bet you he's a pro fighter. I'm like, no, dude, he's not a fighter. Unless he lied to me the whole time he's been with me, but no. So that mindset shift was key. It happened so many times. So I'll go up to Julia, but I'll go give her water and I go, "I got nothing to say." Just turn around, walk away. While the other girl on the other side got 2 coaches hovering over. "Hey, and she was just standing there. I'm like, what am I going to say? Coaches overcoach, by the way. Stop overcoaching, coaches. Stop yelling 2, 3, 2, switch. Just stay heavy. Okay, get on top. How you get there is up to you. Fighting is too dynamic. You can't call it out right in the middle of the exchange. You get to give them concepts, give them base principles. Hey, they're heavy in the lead leg. That's the kick you want to take. The shot's there. The shot's there. I didn't say do double leg. I didn't say single leg. I said the shot's there. So mindset. If you play soccer, what sport did you play, Katie?
In college, I played basketball, but growing up, did anything from swim team to soccer, volleyball, track.
Okay. In basketball, how many times would you face another school throughout a season? Would you have games every week or if not every other week?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you treat it like I just got to go in there, boom, do what we've been preparing for. Because you got another game the next week or the week after, right?
Correct.
But do you lose and then go sulk in a corner for 2 months?
Quick turnaround.
Because that's what fighters do sometimes. They get so damn emotional. It's like, Thailand, that's a job to them. They go fight. In fact, when they're done, they're like, "Hey, man, good fight." So what and they're like, "See you next week. I might be fighting you again." You just pick up and go. That's what I'm saying. Fighters sometimes are prima donnas and they get so in their feels. But that's what also makes them dangerous. Some of the most passionate, high emotional IQ people are fighters. So I love the fight game. Some people are like, you should just focus on teaching the martial arts and spreading the art and guarantee you'd be way more successful. Fighters take up too much of your time. It's true. The amount of probably money sacrifice for my family, my relationship in my marriage, it's a sacrifice. And fighters sometimes they're so selfish. They just take. And then fighters come and go. Like 2 years with you, and they're gone. 3 years are gone. So I really appreciate when somebody is really being that professional. Their mindset is strong. They don't have to baby their ass. Not to help pay their freaking car loan the next month, or basically they don't even have a car, buy them food and gas. But it's like, you know what? What you can do for your instructor is just go out there and do your best. That's all we can ask. Whether you win or lose, it's just like, we just want to see you growing in the art. So my advice to fighters, embrace every experience and as a learning moment. There is no such thing as a bad, if you kick me in the leg, Haley, and do I treat it as like that's a bad moment, or do I say that was a learning moment? I should block that. It's the mindset of how you look at things, right? There's no such thing as bad information.
Sure.
The body receives information. And the way you process the information is whether it's bad information or not. If I touch something hot and I go, "Oof, that was bad information." No, that was great information. Your brain goes, "Dumb, that's hot. Let's not do that next time." So you go, "Cool, I learned." So you're constantly learning. If you always teach it as always a learning moment, then I think more people will succeed in the sport, and I think more people would have a better outlook, and then we treat the sport with respect instead of be like, "Oh, fuck that guy. I'm gonna kick his ass next time." It's like, why didn't you just say, why did I lose? What were the judges looking for? Why did I leave it to the judges? What could I have worked on? Hey, coach, I need to work on this more. Mason is not doing MMA for a while. I said, you're not doing MMA. You got to do more grappling competitions and striking competitions. You got to separate your arts so they can blend better because you're so much into your wrestling mindset. You remember
Mm.
Mason, right? He's a great wrestler. His last 4 fights he's lost against all high-level dudes. I think his last 3 or 4 fights, all those guys turned pro right after Mason because nobody really wanted to fight him. But we took every challenge, and looking back, people are like, why do you keep putting him in those positions, you know? But if Mason has the right mindset, then it's okay because he's taking on challenges that most people won't. People duck these fighters, and he's gotten the respect out of promoters. But when we separated those arts, he just had a healthy mindset about it. He's just like, yeah, no problem, coach. And then so I'm like, that's a guy I want to invest in, you know,
Mm-hmm.
guys like that. And we just did a recent Muay Thai competition. Okay, check this out. In Spokane, I entered Mason into a competition. 0-0 Muay Thai. 0-0. He won fight of the night, and he won a free trip to Thailand with training paid for expenses.
Wow, good for him. That's
0-0.
awesome.
So how do you explain that? Most people say it's because of the coach, you know, a good striking coach fight. No, I'm not kidding. But
Well,
really,
and are you seeing kind of a pattern with that, Belton, when you have some of these students that come in and clearly they have a great maybe wrestling background or they're an athlete in one specific sport, but then they start cross training and they take it all in, whether it's BJJ, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai. Do you start seeing as they transition into some of these specific arenas that maybe they have no experience in, like a Muay Thai fight, 0-0 record?
uh
Do you see a lot of those fundamentals from these previous and other martial arts just kind of carry over and help with that transition process, or where do you think the success is when they start merging into these other arts?
now grappling and striking are kind of polar opposites in a way. But if he did like a taekwondo or karate and then did Muay Thai, I think that would be more relatable. So with Mason, it's a level of athleticism, a competitive spirit, and an eager desire to work and work hard. So that can carry across all the arts.
Sure.
I think it takes a special coaching or coaching way of looking through a different lens to be able to kind of bridge some of these arts or some of their past experiences. Repetition helps build skill. Then all those movements from prior athletic experiences, let's just say that, a coach can find a way to kind of bridge that gap or bring aha moments. And that's why sometimes you just got to look at things as movement and not get so caught up in is that XYZ martial art, you know, ABC martial art or whatever, just say it's movement. You know,
Mhm.
what does Dr. say? We are the masters of movement and um, scholars of movement. He says, be a scholar of movement, right? So I have that ability. Again, that comes from dance background, and that's why I would take a 20-year veteran in FMA and I will outperform and outrank them in due time in less time than the 20 years they put in. One,
Mm.
they probably said, well, I've been training for 20 years. Like, yeah, maybe once a week. I do it every day. I've been on the mats with crutches. I taught Muay Thai while I busted my leg and I wore a boot. I've taught with a sling on. You know, I'm always constantly training my eyes, and when I'm holding pads, you know, I don't spar. I'm also training myself for timing because to hold good pads, you
Mhm.
gotta have good timing. Think about it.
Right.
Every time I'm holding a shot, I'm actually pairing their punches. Every time I hold for a kick, I'm actually timing that kick so I can block that kick. So you have to train your brain and perspective to be in such a manner that it can also still train you in the other end. So you don't ever
Yeah.
untrain yourself. If you're on the ground and I'm having you work on side control, I'm still being aware of how you move and I'm feeling it. So nothing more powerful than when a grandmaster or a professor or somebody high level goes, so I need a volunteer so I can show this move. Raise your hand, be like, do it on me. I want to feel it. Because seeing it on, that's why, again, the social media age, watching it on YouTube is not the same. But when somebody's putting the pressure on you and the little nuances and you feel it, you're like, that's where I'm missing it.
Mm.
So a good coach will, to answer your question, I think I got off topic of it, is bridge that gap, find ways to relate their prior experiences, be it physical movement and or just experiences too. Hey, remember the
Yeah.
time you face that situation? I go, that's the mindset I want.
Cool.
I had a fighter who came from a rough background in Africa. Grew up an orphan, watched his friend get burned alive at 8 years old, and went through some trauma. I mean, just trauma. You walk the streets of some of these countries and you just see dead bodies. I mean, that's not something a kid should see. And he said, one time I had to fight another kid just to eat, and just for rice and beans. So before his fight, I go, hey, get me that rice and beans.
Mm.
Click. So sometimes the mindset, just I related his cultural background and his upbringing into the fight, you know? Hey, Kelly, remember the time that you saw that one person kick that dog and you got real upset? That's that guy. What?
That would set me off, though. Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah. Anyway, I
So,
mean, that's
how do
kind of
you-
lame tactic, but yeah.
But I get it, and it makes sense, Belton. And I think that just goes to show the commitment that you have as a coach, because you have, like you said, hundreds of students coming in and out of your gym since you've opened. And as you've had students come in, because I know they all come in for various reasons, whether it just be simply as I want to give this a go, try it out from the very basic level, whether it be self-defense, whether it's, hey, I'm going pro, I'm going all the way. How do you balance as a coach when you have this like eager person that's coming in and is like, I'm ready to fight, and you're like, maybe not so ready? Or on the other end of the spectrum, where you have somebody that's, maybe don't necessarily believe in themselves, but you see the potential of, hey, this person needs to get out there. They should really, try fighting. How do you balance those two different individuals as a coach?
I'll give you 3 stories. Stories are powerful. One, the single mother just wanted to just do something active. Finally goes, I want to test myself. I've been kind of thinking I should compete. I was like, you should. I think you'd be great. Goes out there, whoops ass, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can be an awesome fighter, dude. Have you thought? No, I'm good. I was like, I was selfishly wanting her to be one of my fighters to succeed because she was good. She whooped that ass, and I'm good. Bucket list. I'm like, all right. It's not about. You also got to remember, it's not about us. It's about them.
Sure.
And that's why it's so hard to work with fighters, because it is about them, but they take advantage of that. They get selfish. I really hate selfish fighters because they suck you dry. They take resources, finances, time. They kill your relationships. They just drain you. Second story. No, coach. Yeah, she just trained last night. I'm ready to fight. Come on, coach. I'm like, no, you keep dropping your hands, dude. You're gonna get knocked out. I don't know, man. I think I'm good. I'm ready. I'm like, you're not ready, dude. So I took the noodle, whack him in the face. Dude, I keep telling, keep your damn hands up. He. Okay, so I took a glove. I threw the glove at his face. Finally, I put the glove on and I punched his face, and he still keeps dropping his hands. I go, you want to fight? Okay. Signed him up. Guess what happened? First round, knockout. He got knocked out.
Yeah.
So, and I was willing to put my name and my reputation at stake and have my fighter get knocked out because he's so fucking stubborn in his head. I'm like, fuck. Okay, obviously me smacking you in the face and yelling at you and punishing you is not getting you through your head. So you want to know what a fight really feels like. That's fine. It's amateur, safe. I know the rest. I know the organization, and no one's going to get killed. So he got knocked out. And then when he was done, I go, I had no sympathy, man. That's one thing. I rarely give compliments, and I'm brutally honest. Okay. I also don't praise you as a person. I praise your effort. Okay. That's John Wooden, good coaching book, great coach. One of the best. John Wooden, one of the best coaches in history. It says praise the effort, not the person. Great job. So I was just, when he got knocked out, I'm like, oh, so you learned your lesson? Yeah. What was my third example? So another female fighter lost. I said, you need to fight again, like soon, like in 2 weeks. You need to fight. She's like, oh, and I knew that if she didn't fight, this would eat her up, and she would not fight again, or be half a year. She fought, she won. We drove down to Eugene, she beat the person, and she goes, thank you for seeing that, because I didn't believe in myself. I go, I know what I'm seeing. I know what you're capable of. So I'm glad you took that fight.
Sure.
The study, 2 groups of students given the same test. Easy test, 100, or whatever, did really well. This group, you're the best. You're so smart. Oh my gosh, you're brilliant. Yada, yada. This one, praise the effort. Good job. Way to work hard. Give a second test. Made it very hard. They both did crap, like failed type crap, right? This group, the praise me group, right? And this group's the hardworking effort group. They took a third test, okay? And it wasn't hard. It was, back to the easy test, I believe. This group did well, okay? This group still didn't do well, because they shattered their confidence, because they associated them being a great person and failing that second round 2 test. So they got into their own heads about, like, I suck, but this person goes, I just need to work harder because you praise my effort, rather than saying, man, Kaylee, you're such a great, oh man, you're so awesome, dude. Man, wow. versus like, that was an awesome takedown. Okay. But we do need to work on this and that. Is okay, yeah, coach. I never knocked you down as a person, nor did I uplift you saying you're the best in the world. I just praised your efforts. So then you saw it as things you need to work on and tasks that had nothing to do with you as a person. But the people,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I actually had people complain about that. So you don't give much compliments. So what do you want me to say? You're the best in the world? I go, good job. One guy got mad at me after the fight. He goes, why can't you just be happy for me? I go, I am. I said, great job, but we need to work a little bit more on your head movement. What do you want me to do? Would you like me to lie to you and say that was awesome? That was the best fight ever? That was actually an okay fight. You won. The judges saw it that way, but you didn't exactly knock him out. Two, you got caught a couple of times. I'm doing my job as a coach. Dude, if you have a problem with that, go to another gym where they can just kiss your ass because you're actually a good fighter. But I'm trying to make you a great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's no longer with me. So obviously, he wanted to be praised, selfish, and you know what? Go ahead then. Find another gym where the coach is going to kiss your ass and tell you all these lies about who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So just a couple of different examples. That
Yeah.
helps.
Do you feel like your coaching style just evolved over time, or, because everybody has a different coaching style. And
Uh-huh.
so do you feel like you took a lot of that through experiences and time, or do you think you had like some solid mentors that helped guide you in the arts that you coach now?
Solid mentors. I picked up a lot of coaching cues and tips from them, watched their interaction. I went to a Henry Hiron Gracie seminar once, and I didn't care about the triple threat as much as I cared about their coaching. I didn't care much. I mean, I did care. The triple threat's the shoulder trap series. You can go armbar, triangle, omoplata, that variation. And I went up to him afterwards. It was Henner. I said, Henner, man, I was just so intrigued by your coaching, just your engagement, how you talked. Every time your inflection of voice, put your arm there, yes, right there, and good job. And like it invokes, it actually increases learning. So these little tips and tricks you can pick up
Mm-hmm.
from coaches. My style evolved, and I think some of that too is just I'm just tired of the bullshit. And so sometimes people say you're too blunt. I'm like, I don't have time to pussyfoot around. Time is too valuable. I'm older now. I think I just got a little more grumpier. I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? I think you know me. I coach. I'm like, Kaylee, what the hell, man? Block that kick.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna say?
Yeah.
Good job. I mean, but you could pick your leg up and block. It would be just nice. What? Come on, it's a combat sport. Block
Mm-hmm.
the kick. If you're taking that personally, that's a you issue, not me. I have no
Right.
problem with you. Off the mat, I'll be
Yeah.
like, "Hi, what's up, dude?" But sometimes people are like, you mad at me?" I'm like, "No, not at all. I'm mad that you didn't block because I told you many times block." So
Right.
people take it too personally. Coaching is coaching. I also evolved from feedback. Let me go back to the Gracie. So I held the Gracie Combatives course here, the GST, Gracie Survival Tactics. And it was 2 weeks, level 1, level 2, 80 cops in here. Their manual had a coaching section. No more than 3 words. Keep it simple. So grab the arm, lift it up, position your knee, throw leg over. And then you give one sentence. We grab the arm to secure it. See how, so they actually had a format, and I was like, oh, this is great. So I evolved, and if I like it and it resonates to where I'm like, that's brilliant. I
Mm-hmm.
don't went through some personal stuff, right? And it was hard. And you know me well enough, Kaylee, that when I'm on the mat, I'm on the mat. You'd have to really know me to know that I was going through some personal shit, right? But I try to be on the mat. Well, apparently I didn't do quite a good job because sometimes I could tell my energy was off, and I was upfront to my assistant coaches, and I go, "Can I get feedback? Like, are you getting what you need out of me?" And they're like, "Well," and they're trying to be respectful. Really could use you a little bit more, going around the room a little bit more. So when you ask for feedback from your people close to you, people that you respect, or even people that see you on a daily basis, coaches. Now, I'm not going to ask the newbie like, "Hey, how was I as a coach? Did I do okay?" That's really not their position. That's probably not advisable. But if you're assistant coaches, or maybe you're people they've known you a long time, or you're trying to train them, even if I'm just like trying to teach, and I go, "Okay, any questions, guys? Any comments?" There's nothing wrong with feedbacks. When they told me what they felt like I needed to work on, to make the class better for them and the students because they noticed. And we don't know when we're doing this sometimes. We just don't know. Like I was gravitating towards all the high level fighters, and maybe because they had a fight coming up, and every weekend there was always literally a fight. So I kind of like almost dismissed my other my other students. That was kind of a harsh check, and it
Mhm.
made me just realize maybe I'm favoring, maybe I'm paying attention to XYZ person too much, or maybe a group of people. So I rapidly pivoted and changed my focus and started giving the proper, you know, train. I just was more aware. If nobody points out that you have a pimple on your freaking face, how are you going to notice it's in your face? So it's like, oh shit, really? Oh damn.
You don't
Okay.
wanna find out later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a person would be a good person if they're like, hey, you might want to. It's like there's a piece of rice in your. Oh, geez, thank you. Thank you for not letting me go out in public like that. It's the same thing, and that requires an open community, an open dialogue, and your fighters or your people or your students should not feel threatened or feel scared to approach you in a respectful manner. Now, if they came up like, yo,
Mhm.
man, coaching sucks, it's like, get out of my gym, dude. But if they're so respectful, like, hey, just Kriya, I have a question, I just feel like sometimes you don't come around and work on me. I just and I need a little bit more help. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I get the time went by, and remind me next class, and I'll keep an eye on you. I can work on your form a little bit. Oh, thank you so much, sir. That's like the proper way to do it. When
Right,
that
being
happened,
open to feedback.
yeah, when that happened, the same coaches that brought it up, and it wasn't bad. It was just more like when they brought that up, they were like, "Ooh, it's obvious, like it's good. The energy's been great," and I was just like, "Good." So my job now is to keep that, and if I ever catch myself faltering, I'll remember that conversation. It's accountability.
Mhm.
And I hope that I never become that guy. Like some grandmasters, like I just do this and do that. Too good. I put in my time. Because you're never too good to if you choose a service-based industry, then be a servant. Be servant to the people, the students. Now, does it take a lot out of you? Yes, but you should be prepared for that because you committed to that.
Mhm.
So one of the best forms of servant leadership, honestly, is look at the Bible. Look at Jesus. I'm not trying to bring religion in this, but that's where, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's where I first heard the word servant leadership, leading by serving others. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So
Mhm.
be a great leader by serving others, or you can be a leader that yells and smacks people around and that's what we call formal authority. My title says so. It says manager. I graduated from college. Moral authority is not the guy walking to a company that got a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and knows it and did some internship and suddenly he's manager. You know who they respect more? The janitor who's been there 30 years that understands the ins and outs of that building because he put his time in. So hit the ground with your people and be in the trenches. I think
Mhm.
being a fight coach has that. Being a Filipino martial artist that backs it up and has recorded videos of his own fights with sticks. Being a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy that when I'm not injured, I can roll with you and I can keep up and actually show you that I can roll rather than being what we call paper dragon, says it on paper, black belt or high level guy. You don't need paper to do that. Do it by your actions, your skill. Your skill is your rank. Show your skill. That tells me your rank.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think if more coaches did that, I think this world would be a better place because nothing like serving others and being there for people. And people don't understand the ins and outs of coaches. Do we screw up as coaches? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. No one's perfect. Nobody's exempt from tripping and tumbling. I most certainly, you know, the personal stuff that I've gone through. That's a trip and a stumble and a half. But that you're not exempt from that. But at the same time, you're in leadership position, but nobody talks about the one guy chased around town to make sure he didn't kill himself because he said he was going to. The other guy had to
Mhm.
take his gun away from him so he doesn't shoot himself. The girl that said she was going to take pills that morning, but something told her to come to the gym, and then we end up crying in the office and saying, "My life is worth more than that," and I can't even count. I had
Mhm.
literally about 4 or 5 guys sit in this office when I called a meeting, and and we were just talking about the gym and stuff, and they were like, Coach, we wouldn't be alive if it weren't for you. And I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I'm not putting this podcast out there because I want you guys to think I'm just this guy. But you understand the amount of energy and the stuff that we put out that we sacrifice. That we're gonna fail sometimes. The object and the goal is to fail less often, right? To
Yeah.
help others not fail, and us as leaders not fail. We are going to fail. I don't know anybody's exempt from not making a mistake, but recognize that your coach is not just the same coach in the mat. The amount of stuff that nobody sees that I drive 4 hours, corner a fight, then pick up the buckets while you're out celebrating with your friends and drive 4.5 hours back. That I canceled hanging out with my daughter to be at your fight or being in the hospital next to you as you got your nose broke or something and I should be home, or the 1 a.m. text that you guys send me, or trying to explain to your loved one and your wife that yeah, don't worry, it's a couple of $100, but this person's really hard up. And that's our money. I mean, I probably could have bought 2 cars with the amount of money I lent out. And nobody sees that. They just see where the coach succeeds and when the coach fails, but they don't see all the inner workings behind that. But they don't see all this stuff that you go, I've loaned my car to people. It's crazy because we chose this lifestyle. Yes, we did, but disregard all the other things that we put in and you forget that we're also human and that does take a suck energy time. Or the amount of texts I was answering at 1 a.m. in India and fight promoters, coaches, this and that. It's like, dude, it's a nonstop. They're like, just turn it off. I go, yeah, but that's probably why I'm who I am. And yes, I have a problem, make myself too accessible. And I've been learning a lot about the words boundaries, but everything's learning, man. We're all students and we'll always have to be students. So,
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing the ins and outs. And I'm sure you've only just showed and explained a sliver of your life, Belton, but I think how relatable, because a lot of people have experience in, some level of mentorship, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a coach, whether it's a parent, but every one of those roles are different. And each of these individuals have their own lives. And I do think martial arts professors and coaches, it is a different ball game and level of commitment in this individual sport. Yet you're trying to run a gym, you're trying to run seminars, you have to take individual fighters and adapt to who they are. And so there's a lot to juggle between that alongside just your own personal life. And so
appreciate what you have. And I'm saying this because do you know how many schools out there are just saying, you guys get this every day from Belton? Like, dude, we would love to. I've had school offer me to move me out, pay me a salary, this, that, and the other, to be their head coach. I have schools who pay for me to come and teach a 2-hour block, and they're just like, more. And I go, you guys get this every day. If all you know is what you know, then you don't realize what's lacking out there. If all you've driven are Mercedes and Lexuses, you don't really know what a Honda Civic feels like, right? The material, and sorry, maybe I'm bragging a little bit, but some of the coaching that I provided, that I do provide, not have, I still provide, is top tier, great knowledge and principled coaching stuff. So you have to appreciate what you have. And if you don't appreciate what you have, sometimes all I want is that gratitude and that gratefulness for what you're getting. With that being said, people are like, oh, you went to Italy, look at you. And I go, no, I have to wake up at 5 a.m, check the weights of the fighters who are doing the actual official weigh-in at 8 every day. And then afterwards, I got to be running around with 6 rings, helping the other coaches, the new international coaches, because I'm the veteran coach, one of the Team USA coaches. And then I go home dead ass tired. And people are like, you think I was there on vacation? That was on my own dime. 1, 2, I'm watching 200 plus fight competitors, Russians who have more double-digit knockouts on their record compared to like people whose total records aren't even in double digits, or they're just in the low double digits. And I'm bringing back knowledge from how the sport's evolving. If you had a chance to go work an NBA game with the coaching staff for a week and actually watch their drilling and their practice and actually be at that high level, and then you come back to your school and you're a high school coach, wouldn't you think that was valuable time that your coach went there? Well, you were probably vacation on it. And like, no. So as I'm teaching the seminars or even going to workshops and I'm either participating or co-participating as a student / coach, if I'm watching high level Muay Thai or watching UFC fighters train, when I'm at the UFC Performance Institute watching Khabib's camp training right there, and trust me, I'm absorbing stuff and I'm bringing back knowledge. So appreciate that time rather than bitching and complaining or being jealous. I'm not saying my students do that, but sometimes like, oh, look at you, world traveler. At you, like, no, dude, I'm always in constantly learning mode. And what did I do in India? Train in the morning, go back to my room and just try to sleep and catch up. Train in the evening. And as I'm training and coaching, I worked with somebody who had a very, very, very sensitive issue and got this gal comfortable on clinch and even BJJ. I worked on a fighter that had no clinch, but he was a little too rough and humbled him which I didn't want to do that, but I did in front of all the students and then showed that control. And I basically spoke about it. You guys aren't learning when you're trying to win the moment. Get in learning mode. And everybody, the coach in India goes, everybody leveled up. I've never seen this jump and leap in skill development.
Sure.
But by coaching those individuals, I bring back knowledge on how to coach certain profile types of people, not just fighters, people, and implement in my gym, and so then they can grow too. So if you treat everything like a learning moment and understand that I'm coaching and learning myself and always being a student, if I'm taking the Gracie survival tactics, I'm police jiu-jitsu certified under Chad Lyman. But by sitting there and watching another system teach and watching them do things, I was like, interesting. That's cool. Okay, I see. Okay. And I'm playing things in my head. I'm coming up with curriculum and I'm constantly learning. Understand, you got a coach that's always evolving and learning. Appreciate that. Rather than, I'm a 4-stripe, 17 million stripe black belt, and this is the way. No, there's numerous ways.
Yeah.
I think coaching too. I think if you want to be a successful coach and you're looking at that as a coach, then develop your skills and your repetitions around that. Coach a lot, accept challenges, be a servant leader, never stop learning. Even when you're holding pads, you're still in learning mode. Understand different types of bodies, how they move, the mentality of some of these guys. Keep growing and developing, because as you do that, your group grows with you, your fighter grows with you, and everybody levels up. This world just becomes a damn better place instead of the stupidity that's going on right now.
Well, and I was just about to ask you, Belton, like, how do you hope your students and fighters remember their time training under you? And I feel like you pretty much just answered it right there.
When you hear about a kid standing up to a bully that walked away 2 times and then turned around and the guy put his hands on him and he took him down with a Muay Thai kick and a punch, that makes me happy. When you hear a girl that was being grabbed by her throat and being slammed against the lockers by a bully or slapped inside of the head from behind, and she turned around and teeped him in the face and he started crying and stopped bullying her, that's successful. When you hear about a not confident person going into an interview and facing that and goes, this is like jiu-jitsu, man. Position yourself for submission. And taking these concepts of martial arts and applying to their daily lives. You hear about relationships and then husbands and wives training together, and then they're just growing together and they're just going through the muck and the grit and grind together, sweating out, watching them work with other people and developing the strength of the relationship because of that ability to be in social settings and interact and put themselves in vulnerable spots. Watching your husband get beat up, that's not a cool thing. Watching your wife getting choked, that's not a cool thing, but it makes you like appreciate her. Man, that's my wife. Or you're like, yeah, my husband is a badass. Or like, on the way home, I was like, honey, it was rough. Like, yeah, I know. But you did great out there supporting. I mean, relationship wise, when you see people learning about
Well,
balance.
I think that's a good point too, is I think there's nothing more, there's plenty of attractive things, but there's one extremely attractive thing is seeing your partner go through adversity and come out the other end of it. And I think that inevitable, if you can see that in the gym, great. But that is life. Life is going to consistently throw adversity at you as an individual and as a couple, and so to be able to overcome that within a gym setting, but then outside, right, obviously in the real world, you're right. I think it is really special for family members or people who are in relationships, or for parents and kids to see that, friendships, whatever it may be, to see people that you care about go through that level of learning and adversity. There's something truly special about it.
Another parent told me his kid always hides behind him, kind of maybe has some issues and maybe socially awkward. Now he's more confident because he's on the mats and he's getting that pressure, and also little butt heads in the gym that learned a little discipline. It works the other side of that spectrum. Like the other day, this other kid he cussed, and I go, I know you're new here, but don't you ever do that on my mat. And then it's just like, oh, and I go, yeah, give me 10 burpees right now. I go, did I stutter? Then the mom was just like, damn, we need this. Because look at our school systems now. Our teachers and our school officials are so apologetic to our kids. They need guidance, dude. So I think some people bring their kids over here because they want that guidance. They want somebody to hold the fort down. Now, that doesn't give you an excuse to not parent your kid, because sometimes parents use me as the disciplinary tool.
Sure.
I'm going to tell coach. I'm like, no, So I'm also
Right.
training their parents, training their parents, training the kids. I think martial arts in general, I'm particular biased towards Filipino martial arts, silat, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and basically striking, grappling, and weapon. But if you want to do some Tai Chi, we forget some of these Taekwondo. Some of these arts are deadly because they're combative form of where it came from. The old school ways, judo, the old school judo, some of the old school stuff, the original jiu-jitsu. Dude, good stuff. Where do you think it came from? Why do you think this stuff has existed for a while? Any martial arts at this point will help develop you as a person. And right now, I'd love to promote the main arts that I teach and participate in. But if you find joy and physical fitness in a martial art, and you find discipline, respect in a community, dude, join it. I don't care if it's whatever, I don't get rat's ass,
Sure. So as we wrap up, Belton, what's the legacy that you hope to leave behind in the martial arts world? I know it's not done. You got a long road ahead of you, but
Yep. I think, what I do want to say is I'm going to go back to one of Dato's sayings because it resonates with me so well. Invest in the martial art for the learning the art, but at the end of the day, find the art within your art. Don't let the martial arts define you. You define the martial arts. So then that way, when you go into the arts and you build a foundation, find out how you can express yourself, freely and accordingly within the boundaries of what that art teaches you. Don't be in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class and start punching a face, because that's just the boundaries are. It's a grappling art, right? And extract concepts and principles. The legacy I want to leave behind, find the art within your art. I hope that at the end of the day, that when my name comes up, that you see me as a great coach, that I can pass on the art. And I think people can pass on this serving others and that type of servant mentality. And if they can carry that over into their daily life and see that's something I had done here in the martial arts, and then I think that would transcend martial arts and not just be martial arts or about fighting. I think this world needs that. And so the legacy I want to leave behind is that I was a great teacher, and that I was willing to put my best foot forward and go above and beyond at times. And I think you should do that in life and teach others, teach to learn to teach. And don't be afraid to just pass it on by going, hey, let me show you something really cool. Teach others, bring that passion and share that passion with others.
Yeah.
So my name shouldn't go down as the best fighter in history, not even necessarily the best coach, but a good coach that did his best to touch many lives and also spread the arts.
Yeah. And I think you've absolutely done that. And I look forward to the next couple decades that you have ahead of you putting in the good work.
50 years old.
Hey,
Next
still a young
February.
buck.
Yep.
Okay, well, I ask everybody this at the end of each of our podcast episodes. So, what is something that you wish didn't have as much of a grip on you in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. Oof, that's a deep question. What do I wish didn't have much of a grip on me in life? I think this is an answer that most people are always going to agree with me, and it's more a reality check. I don't think there's a solution to it. I think there's a reality check and ways around it. And I wish time wasn't a grip on me. Because if time was a grip on me, if it wasn't, I wouldn't sleep. I would teach, I would train, I would do all that. I would try. If time wasn't a grip on me, I'd make lots of money so I can go travel more places and teach martial arts. But your constraints are there, and that grip is something that you cannot change. You can't buy back time. So I wish I can, but you can't. So you need to be present and in the now. And so then that way, every moment is not wasted, and everything is with purpose. So if time wasn't a grip, I would just not stop.
Yeah.
But time is a grip. And because of that firm grip that it has on me and everybody, not one person in this universe is not constrained by time. Puts you in check to have that balance in life, because I've got a daughter, I got the gym, I got relationships to foster, and I'm not omnipresent. I'm not God. Can't be everywhere all at once. So I have to learn how to time manage. And that is so hard. How many times have we seen professors sit here and talk for over an hour when he should have been on the road after class?
Yeah.
A lot. You don't think I've done the same damn thing. You guys just don't see
Yeah.
it because I'm teaching Muay Thai, but we've done
Yeah.
it. Time does not wait for anyone. So manage it and actually value it and actually understand that it has a grip on you, but acknowledge it. Because
Sure.
what a lot of answers you're probably going to get is, I wish finances weren't a thing, just because then I'd be a little bit more free to do this and do that. No, it's time. It's not physical. It's finite
Yeah. I love
and
that.
infinite.
Great answer, Belton. And then what is something you wish you had more of a grip on in your life?
So it leads into that, which I already mentioned, is that balance. So I just wish I had a better time management system. It's a skill. So I just need a better grip in that skill development of time management. So I'm not worn down. I'm not overcommitting to something, undercommitting to this. And so I can allocate that. That includes time with my daughter, fighters, gym, traveling. And if I can have a firm grip on that, I think that takes a long time to develop. There's Guru Dan Inosanto, does 50 seminars a year. So he has 52 weeks in a year, 50 weekends are taken, but he already knows which weekends. Every year, second week of November is Texas. Every third week of March is Oregon. Every fourth week of September is here. So it's properly scheduled and it never changes. So people work around that. So if you work around that, why do you think Revolution is successful? We always know there's 2 a year or three, the spring, summer, and fall. Everyone prepares for that. Why do you think the success rate as far as attendance is high? But if you're constantly just so if I balance that out, if you take the same concept,
Yeah.
a firm grip, and that comes with a little bit more clout, a little bit more time invested in who I am as a person, as a coach. Dude, yeah, coach. You know what? Yeah, we'll work around that. We'll come to you. I know you do this camp every year. We'll come to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Belton, this has been an absolute pleasure. I thank you. I know you just got off the plane like a day ago from India, and you've been back in the works of things. You probably still have jet lag, but you have no idea how much this conversation meant to me, and I know will mean to others listening in. So I really appreciate it, and I hope we get a chance to do it again.
I might be in Texas October.
Well, we'll see you then.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, for those listening and want to check out Belton's journey, please hit him up and follow along on Instagram at Warrior Strength Martial, Warrior Strength Muay Thai, or Warrior Strength Trainer. Also, you can follow along on Facebook or LinkedIn at Belton Lubas. Or if you're in the Seattle or Washington area, stop by the gym. You won't regret it. Maybe check in and see when his next seminar is. He's traveling all over the place, as you heard. And so touch base with him. He's got a plethora of knowledge to learn if you haven't already gauged that yet. So please, please, please support Warrior Strength Martial Arts and what Belton's doing.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening to The Grip. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along on Instagram at The Grip Pod to stay up to date on new episodes. That way you can send over a DM if you've got a question you'd like to hear answered on our roll call series. Now remember, stay sharp, be grounded, and never lose your grip. See you next time.